welcome to Holy Heartbeats. My name is Nathan, and I narrate Christ-centered testimonies from all over the world. These testimonies include rapture and end-times visions, near-death experiences, encounters with angels and demons, God, Jesus, and even Satan himself. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you are fond of listening to these types of stories, and let me know what you think about these testimonies in the comments section below. Furthermore, for those who want to share their personal testimonies, visions, and revelations from God, you can send us your own stories at holyheartbeat7@gmail.com. I will be very honored to read your testimony, which may inspire, edify, and encourage a lot of people in their personal journey of faith with the Lord Jesus Christ.
A new day dawns, the 20th century, with hopes of freedom, happiness, and peace.
Babies. There's a baby farm that exists. There's all ages. There's kids who don't act like kids. They act like wild animals. They hiss at you. They act like wild animals. I know some of them have been there since probably birth or before. There's children of all ages. There's people who have been there since they were babies, but they're adults now.
I will say it until I'm blue in the face. They hide things in plain sight. Y'all, remember how Ellie Carter came out and told everybody that there's tunnels underground that lead to theme parks, that lead to hospitals, that lead to kids' playground? Remember that? Remember how everyone called her crazy, a conspiracy theorist, sent her unaliving threats for just being so crazy and stupid? It's gonna explain the tunnel that they found under the abandoned KFC. That went for miles, hundreds and hundreds of miles. Who's gonna talk about that? The cover-up story was that it was used by the cartel to transport certain substances across the border. But we all know what it was really used for. How many times, oh man, I have to really censor this. How many times do you see that parents lose track of their offspring in places that are super crowded, like Disney World, and they say, she just went to the bathroom. Where is she? Or, I just turned my back for a second. I just looked in my purse for a second and she's gone. Where is he? Where is my child? Remember that lady that said that she saw the floor open in the Disney World bathroom? Do y'all remember that? And everybody called this lady crazy. How are y'all gonna explain away this massive tunnel under that abandoned KFC? You think it's just substances that were being transported under there? Like, are we really gonna be so blind? To top it all off, let's look at a very famous rapper that so many people look up to for some reason. Let's look at his lyrics from the song called Otis. Build your fences, we dig in tunnels. Can't you see we getting money up under you? Can't you see the private jets flying over you? He's literally telling us as above, so below. Did you guys hear about that Bush official? I think her name is Catherine Fitz, a lady that worked very closely with President Bush. I don't know if her NDA expired, but she's singing like a canary. She's telling everybody that there are tunnels underground with a whole civilization that is way more advanced, not like other human advanced. I'm talking about like speed trains and flying cars type stuff. They have way more than you could ever imagine down there. And it's crazy because when the world heard about Admiral Byrd saying that he flew into a hole in Antarctica and there was rainbow cities, there was an underground civilization, everybody thought it was madness, right? Now y'all got a lady that worked in the White House with a president that has personal direct access to these people that have more money than they could ever imagine. $21 trillion went into making this city that is right below us. They got $21 trillion of taxpayers' dollars, making these cities underground while we slave to death above ground to pay our rent.
I know that Allie Carter isn't lying about the underground tunnels in schools, and I'm going to tell you why. I just recorded this video and I realized that I didn't use the terminology the correct way for TikTok, so I had to re-record this. Okay, so let's get into it. When I was in junior high school in Queens, New York, I went to a school called RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And it was in Queens, New York. I had a group of friends who loved spooky things. We had just recently found out from I think she was the school counselor. I think so. Yeah, she was a school counselor. I can't remember her name. But she had told us a story about a girl in the 80s who had been unalived and raped in our school locker room. In our school locker room. So of course we're like, whoa, right? Like, we're finding this out. We use that locker room every day for PE. So we were like, so my friends took it upon themselves. They had the brilliant idea of bringing over a Ouija board and wanting to summon stuff. I wasn't about it. I didn't even know what a Ouija board was. They had to explain to me what it was, and I did not like what they told me. Anyways, fast forward. We change in the girls' locker room. We go to PE. We go back to change. And there was a door in the back of the girls' locker room to the right that was on the ground. It was more like a sturdy metal, just a platform, I guess. And it had a handle on it. And we used to always mess with it. We'd be like, oh, let's see if we can open it today. You know, like, mess with it all the time. And we do PE, we go back to change, back into our regular clothing, and it's wide open. And I used to change in the second row to the left. I remember always going left. That's all I remember. And a lot of the girls used to change in that row where the door was. And one of the girls goes, the door's open. So, of course, we're all in the middle of changing. I'm probably finishing up changing. We run to the back. It's open. And there's light emanating from below it. And, of course, girls start jumping down the hole. And I'm scared. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But I look. Tunnels in each direction. And they ran down and they were screaming and they were running back, and I was like, y'all should probably get back up here. I thought it was extra weird because of the events that I knew that had taken place back in the 80s that we had just learned about. Didn't like it. Didn't like how my body felt. So I stood back. And I observed them, and I kind of held space. I thought it was weird because you can see when someone enters the locker room and there was no other way to enter or exit other than going through the gymnasium. So whoever opened it from inside the locker room while we were in PE. All this to say, there are tunnels underground schools. I saw them with my own eyes. We never questioned it again. We didn't ask anyone. We didn't ask teachers. We didn't ask the coach. We didn't ask anyone. We were just like, whoa, that was so cool. That was so weird. Why is that there? And we didn't think anything further of it. And now this girl is telling us that that's how they kids. Man. We need to pray her up. Things are coming to light. We need to strengthen our spirit. We need to pray for the protection of our children. That's still there. That hasn't moved. I know it is.
I received this prophetic dream entitled The Era of Moloch Begins Dream on May 4th, 2023 until May 5th, 2023. It began with me as an observer. I was out in a large open field of green grass. I looked around at the vast openness of this area. Nothing, I heard myself say. I looked up at the blue sky. It was beautiful, but the color seemed somehow off to me. I looked out in front of me, and I saw in the distance some type of structure. Holy Spirit, my friend, Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 to 6 tells me to trust in the Lord with all my heart, and to lean not unto my own understanding, and in all my ways to acknowledge him, and he will direct my path. Do I need to investigate this structure I am now seeing? I felt a stronger pull to investigate it, and heard one softly spoken word. Go. I began walking quickly toward the structure. It was made of rocks, tall standing rocks in a circle. It looked like Stonehenge from the pictures I had seen of it. I began hearing what sounded like chanting upon the wind, which caused me to freeze in place. Jesus, I whispered out loud. Please be with me. I don't want to go any further alone because in all my earthly experiences, 9 times out of 10 when I have come across people chanting, it hasn't been good. Little daughter, you are never alone, I heard a voice softly say to me. I turned to my right from where the voice came. It was Jesus, my lovely, lovely Jesus. He was standing right there beside me. His beautiful hair was as white as the snow. Great love and compassion shone in his flaming blue eyes with a hint of green in the now fading sunlight. He was dressed in a solid white tunic-type garment with a draping of brilliant blue that hung beneath one arm and joined together on the other shoulder, which was on his right. Plain, simple sandals adorned his beautiful nail-scarred feet. I found myself running swiftly into his arms, and he gave me a reassuring hug. Jesus, my love, my Savior, you're here. Oh, how I love you. My daughter, my love, I love you too, but now there is much for me to show you. I smiled at him as I pulled myself away. Thank you for being here, Jesus. I hear chanting. Yes, he replied. You are here, little daughter, to observe and to share that which I tell you, and only that which I allow. Yes, Jesus, my love, I understand. He reached out and took my hand. Come, he said softly but firmly. We began walking swiftly to the tall standing stones. As we drew closer, I saw people, both male and female, chanting, their bodies swaying and dancing in rhythm to the chanting. They were naked. Many things were occurring. A child was being attacked while the people around her were chanting and dancing naked. I watched as the man assaulting the child suddenly picked up a long dagger with a jewel-encrusted handle and killed the child. Oh, Jesus, I exclaimed. Oh, Jesus, please, please stop this. From out behind one of the stone pillars, I saw a man pulling another child to the middle where the first man was still standing over the lifeless body of the child. I was crying, and so was Jesus. Oh, Jesus, why? What are they doing? They are bringing in a new era upon your world, as old false gods are returned to your world. And you can stop all this, Jesus, I cried out, my heart breaking from all I was seeing. Little daughter, many things you do not understand, but one day you will. These are servants of Satan who hide their wicked deeds from the eyes of common man. They are making sacrifices to Satan to aid in the enthroning of a king's crowning that should begin an era upon your modern world like you have never seen before. Come, daughter, I will show you some more of what is still to come. There are sacrifices of this sort covering your world as the full flower moon rises, as evil draws additional strength from the power of the moon's lunar eclipse also. But why, Jesus? For what reason? I asked, a little perplexed. For the crowning of the king that shall bring forth in full strength your world's new one-world religion system. Sacrifices to Satan, your enemy, above and below the earth's surface, and in the seas and ocean's depths have all been planned in sync for this grand worldly occasion. With these words from my lovely Jesus, He took my hand, waved his hand, and softly said, "Come." We walked together forward as the scene changed. Jesus and I were in a large room filled with many, many people. The air in this room, the feel, was of great evil. There were so many people here, many famous ones, like a female singer named Madonna. There was Katy Perry and a woman who called herself Beyoncé. There were name tags appearing above the people's heads. I shall only write down the ones I'm allowed to by the Holy Spirit's leading. I saw Nancy Pelosi, Mike Pence, and his wife Karen. There was an older man, a singer named Rod Stewart. I saw George Soros, Julia Roberts, and Oprah Winfrey. I saw the Pope. There, in a corner, huddled with some other men, were Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. There were senators, representatives, prime ministers, presidents, and pastors of megachurches. It appeared to be many of the upper class and elite gathered here. Many were in an agitated state of excitement, as if something grand was about to begin. "Come," Jesus said softly as he took me by the hand again and pulled me with him through the crowd. We passed through them unnoticed. I saw two very large, heavy metal doors that appeared to me as if they could be dungeon doors, but they were tall. Very, very tall, as if someone of great stature could easily pass through them. Jesus looked back at me and gave me a reassuring smile as we passed through the doors without opening them. We just went through them. Instantly, I was hit by the tremendous heat in the room. Oh, Jesus, why is it so hot in here? Little daughter, what you are about to see is the revival of one of the cruelest false religions in ancient history, the worship of Moloch, the fallen angel who, in your world's terminology, would be called one of Satan's right-hand beings. He is one of the closest to Lucifer, to Satan, and does his bidding with joyful, evil glee. The revival of this pagan religion follows behind the worship of Peor Baal and Dagon, which are already being openly embraced upon your world and your once great nation, Jesus said to me in a voice of calm authority. Jesus, I don't remember much about Moloch, or Moloch, I think he's also called, except that it was a false religion and god that the children of Israel were not to partake in. You are correct, little daughter. Let me show you the cruelty of Satan and his fallen angel friends to my beloved creation, that of mankind. We walked deeper into the room. It looked like some kind of underground chamber. It had a horrible smell, yet I also could smell the scent of dirt inside. As we walked further into the room, I gasped out loud. The room opened up and expanded to a huge area. There in the middle was what looked like a cross between an Egyptian pyramid and a Mayan temple. The top was flat and had an extended platform above a very huge metal statue of a bull. It appears to be of iron and bronze, I mused to myself. Little daughter, it is made of bronze and iron in places, but each has been infused with the demon's graphene. What is it? I asked incredulously, yet also feeling dread build up in the pit of my stomach. Daughter of mine, my love, this is an idol of Moloch. But Jesus, I exclaimed, his stomach has a fire raging inside. I can see it because it has an open way into the belly area. And what's that ramp slanting from its outward extended hands that runs into the fiery stomach opening? Look, Jesus, the very metal on the ramp has a red-hot glow to it. Why, Jesus? I asked, as dread began filling my heart. I had a feeling I knew what his answer would be. I was sweating heavily from the oppressive heat. Little daughter, this is where babies and young children have been secretly offered to Moloch to help bring his rise and that of Antichrist to full power. Oh, I replied as tears filled my eyes. Jesus, this is horrible. Oh, I said as I could no longer hold back my tears. Sorrow and anguish filled my heart. Oh, Jesus, our world has fallen so far, so hard into sin. These babies, these precious children, I said as tears poured from my eyes. I felt his arms wrap around me, and immediately I felt comforted and strengthened. Come, daughter, I will not make you watch this part. But soon after I show you this next event, you will see. Know that they will begin the sacrificing of children to usher in the new king's arrival above ground, having already performed those needed for the ceremony you are about to witness and share? Yes, Jesus, I said as I wiped the tears from my eyes. I looked up into his face to see that he too was wiping tears from his eyes. Then the scene changed again. Jesus and I were in a very crowded room. There were scantily clad dancing people who appeared to be swaying to some type of archaic music, for lack of a better word to describe it. Many of the same people from earlier were here, along with so many more, such as Barack and Michelle Obama, Prince William and Kate, his wife, but there were also giants here. There were also people I recognized as magic yielders, wielders and users, druids and mystics. "Oh Jesus, what's going on here?" he replied softly. "The crowning of the king beneath the ground, ushering the spirit of Moloch before the crowning on the morrow to come." "Jesus, are you telling me about Prince Charles? I mean King Charles of England's coronation?" I asked in great surprise. "Yes, daughter, I do. Watch and see." I noticed now, while talking, that we had walked unnoticed through drug-induced crowds who were worshipping Satan, Moloch, and any other false god they could think of, or so it seemed. I noticed the floor we were walking upon was made of black and white squares. I saw an elaborately carved platform, a ceremonial platform made of some type of rich wood. It was beautiful, but I still found myself shaking my head in disgust at the throne on it and what I knew it represented. It had tall pillars, too. A hush fell across the room as I saw a man in a long, dark blue hooded robe come upon the stage from the left. He was wearing what looked like black leather gloves. Apparently, we had missed part of this ceremony. The man spoke. "We now present to you the chosen to be king to revive our spirit brother Moloch, one of our gods above gods, who shall usher in our world's new system of religion and order." The man held his hand out, gesturing to the left side of the stairs he had just climbed up. "Come, your king, the spirit bearer, the defender of all faiths." Shouts rose up from the crowd. I watched as King Charles slowly walked up the steps in great, prideful, purposeful strides. He came to stand by the druid mystic man in the dark blue hooded robe. It was then I noticed that to the right of the throne was a table with a square top. It put me in mind of a tabletop like the old Flintstones cartoon people would have used as their tabletop. So thick it was, like a really big, thick rock, but it was rounded and not square, the edges were round, with loops on each end, one on each side. Sitting on top of the stone table, which rested upon sturdy legs of iron carvings of a chimera, painted gold or possibly solid gold, with a lion's body, feet of a dragon, and a strange tail, was a very bejeweled gold crown with a purple inset. My attention was again brought back to the druid mystic man and King Charles, who was dressed in a red satin-type tunic garment. They were walking toward the crown and throne chair. King Charles sat in the chair with great pride, a huge evil smile upon his swollen face. His skin was red and somewhat puffy. I saw movement from behind King Charles as he sat on his throne, with the druid man to his right side of the chair from where I was standing. "Jesus, that's Michelle Obama," I exclaimed as I saw her, no, him. "Oh, Jesus, is she a woman or a man?" Michelle Obama had on a pair of stretchy, skin-tight white pants with no top. She was bare-breasted, and her pants looked like they were hiding man parts in the front. "What's she doing here? Or do I call her he? Oh, Jesus, our world is so twisted by sin." Jesus replied somberly, "He was created by me as a man, but through many changes, he has become this, so the plan of Satan can move forward for the rise of Antichrist further." I watched as Michelle almost pranced on stage toward King Charles, who was grinning at her in a very lustful manner. "Oh, Jesus, I think I will be sick." "Peace, daughter, peace, I speak to your body and mind now." Instantly, I felt a calmness spread through me. I watched as Michelle picked up the crown and gathered it up close between her bosom. Then she pranced to King Charles and placed it upon his head. He reached up, grabbed her, and fondled her in places. She planted a kiss on his mouth and backed away from him. She immediately walked back behind the throne and stood beside the hooded robed man, the druid mystic. The druid man raised his hand and yelled, Hail your king, the defender of all faiths. May Moloch's spirit rest within his body's shell. The crowd erupted with praises to the man as he sat in the chair, and his body began twisting and contorting in unnatural ways. The crowd went into a frenzy until he became still. The whole place grew silent as King Charles stood up, having just been crowned king in the undergrounds beneath the earth's crust. Jesus, I gasped under my breath. Jesus squeezed my hand quickly, then nodded his head to the right of the stage. It was so quiet I could hear the sound of footsteps, very confident, very purposeful. I turned to see who had walked upon the stage. It was a man in a red suit, red shirt, black tie, and red shoes. Upon his head he wore a mask, a goat's head. It was the head of Baphomet. My whole body tensed as I exclaimed, "No!" Jesus responded by squeezing my hand again and saying, "Watch, little daughter. Watch and share what I tell you to share. I will, Jesus, with your help and strength in your name." I watched as King Charles turned to face the man wearing the Baphomet mask. "Bow to me," said the man to King Charles. I heard him respond, "My lord." Immediately, King Charles was upon his knees, head bowed, the purple and gold crown somehow still upon his head. I noticed that now every person in the room had fallen to their knees to reverence the goat-headed masked man. Oh, he made my skin crawl. I knew who this was. It was Antichrist, the man of sin, whom I had watched not so long ago being crowned underground last year as well. I shivered in revulsion, and I felt Jesus' arm go around my shoulders reassuringly. "It's okay, little daughter, I've got you," he whispered. I saw the Antichrist, still in his goat's mask, reach down and remove the crown from King Charles's head. He quickly placed it upon his own head, and then spoke. "A new age has arisen as Moloch rises to stand by my side as we march forward and take control of this world and above. Our time is now. My time is now. Tomorrow's eve morning, Moloch shall be crowned above the earth as King of England, the defender of all faiths, as our one world unifies and grows stronger through religion, money, and power in our unified governments. Continue your sacrifices in the sacred groves, monuments, and places of magnetic power, for soon the filthy Nazarene shall remove his restrainer, and we will take this world by force." Then I awoke, trembling once again at all I had dreamed and seen. O Jesus, mercy, Jesus, in judgment, for surely our world resides in evil. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and I'll see you in our next video.